Recording have begun. Now I'll share the screen again. All right. Right. Now, the methodology in Galerkin method is, if you miss one point, it will become little confused. All right. So what we'll do, we'll go step by step. End of the method, we will solve a general differential equation, which will help us to understand how the solution can be reached in Galerkin method. Later on, we will come to the problems into solid mechanics. All right. So let's see what is Galerkin's method and how it is formulated. See, Galerkin method, I said you in the previous class itself, this method uses set of governing equations to develop an integral form. All right. To make it into integral form, which means of expanding it into the bigger structure, first it takes into the finite part. All right. So when we talk about the finite part, it means the ds or dv terms, so differential terms. All right. So the governing equations will be differential equations of which the integral form is formed. Integral part is formed. All right. So we are considering here that there is a region V volume. All right. The region V from starting what we are seeing. If for this V, we have to consider a governing differential equation. All right. Let that governing differential equation be L of U is equal to P. All right. Here, it can be anything. A of U is equal to B or B of U is equal to C. Anything can be taken. All right. Here, generally, when the Galerkin method was mentioned, it was shown as L of U is equal to P. All right. It means L is the differential operator of the basic unknown U here. All right. And the P will be the whatever the load factors that are acting on the member. You can consider that to be the work potential as of in the potential energy approach. All right. Now, uh, I hope you're writing this. Let here L is the differential operator on the basic unknown. The degree of the differential operator depends on the variety of the problem. All right. So that is why we are directly just taking it as a differential operator. It can be d by dx, d square by dx square. It depends on the respective problems. All right. Now, you have to remember that, make a note over here that the value of u, what we find out depending upon the governing equation or the way we form the equation or governing equation, uh, when it is solved, when you found out, has to satisfy the specified values on the boundary of the region. So whatever the answer you get has to satisfy the boundary conditions. It may be the load conditions, it may be the surface traction conditions or the end conditions, whatever it is, it has to satisfy if, I'm mentioning if there are specific values that are mentioned. That is the rule. All right. Suppose it says u at x is equal to 2 is equal to 0. That has to be satisfied. In that way, we have to form the governing differential equation. All right. You please make that note also. We'll go for the next slide. All right. Take this as equation number 1. Our governing differential equation as equation number 1. Now, see, I said from the beginning, we are talking whenever we are discussing about any methodology, it is clear that finite elements or the potential energy approach or the Galerkin's method, all these types of methodologies, direct approach, energy balance approach. All these kinds are the approximation type of methods. It will give you approximate solutions only. All right. Now we have taken a governing equation L of u is equal to P. All right. That also will result in an approximate solution. Right. When that gives you an approximate solution, from the exact solution, there is a little error happening in between. It may be positive, it may be negative. Either, suppose yesterday when we saw in the previous class when we solved the problem, WL square by 8.05. That was the answer we have got from the approximation. Right. Whereas the actual answer was WL square by 8. So 0.5 in the denominator was a slight error that we could see in the approximate solution. Negative or positive. Alright, that's the example I have given you. So that error is taken into consideration in the Galeckin's method, and that leftover or the additional, not additional because it may be positive or negative, that error we are calling that as the residual. All right. Now suppose in the L of u is equal to P, whatever the governing differential equation we have taken. Now if u dash or u bar, we'll call it as u bar. All right. If u bar is the approximate solution for the taken governing equation, then it introduces an error. We are calling that because this is in the terms of u is in terms of displacement. The error what we get will be in terms of strain. All right. So introduces an error, strain at x, epsilon at x of x at a point x. Now how this error is going to be is like this. We had L is equal to L of u is equal to P. Now the error whatever it introduces because of the approximate solution is epsilon x is equal to L of u bar. Now u bar means u bar is the approximate solution what we got minus P, the differential equation what we had. All right. So this epsilon x here is called the residual. Are we clear until this part? Anyone please answer. Guys, are you there in the class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll continue. Right, this epsilon of x, that error that is left over, we are calling that as a residual. Please remember, when it is about approximate solution, whatever answer you get may be positive, may be negative. All right. So it is like it can be the approximation less than the exact answer or more than the exact answer. Right. Now, let us take this residual as equation number 2. Now we have an error and approximation solution, so approximate solution for the concerned governing equation. All right. Now, how do we reach to this approximate solution or this residual? Whatever we are going to get, that is going to have different, we have to take different weighting functions. All right. Seeking of solution revolves around setting the residual to relative weighting function. That is called WI, weighting function, to 0. Whatever residual you get, we have to make that error to reach to 0. That's our goal, so that would go to the exact solution. All right. So that residual, what is that residual function? To that we have to consider different weighting functions so that we could reach to the point of that error. All right. That is why we are calling this as weighted residual method. All right, there is a residual. To reach to that residual, or to set what is that residual where we are reaching, we are applying a weighting function in between. All right, now what is this weighting function lies here. We take it in this form. We had the differential form, out of which we will get an approximation. To that differential form, we are giving a weighting function and making it into integral form to reach to the solution. All right, now this is how we go to that specified volume, Wi into this epsilon residual whatever we have, L of u bar minus P into dV. dV is the for the overall specified region. All right, overall boundary, overall volume you can consider. All right, so for I is equal to 1 to n, how many ever number of nodes or points we consider, that can be. So Wi is mentioned like that. All right, so let us take this one as equation number 3. So we have three equations now. First one was the governing differential equation. Second one is the residual equation. The third one is with respect to the integral form of governing equation with respect to a weighting function. All right, I hope we are clear until this part. I'm going to the next one now. Now, how is this integral form solved to for us to reach to the solution is the next part. All right. Now see, here I have mentioned that to reach what is the residual, to find out what is the residual, certain weighting functions are taken into account. Now, how do we choose this weighting function? That is uh, that is the main important part to reach to the solution. How what is the type of method you choose? All right, to for that weighting function is important. All right, the choice of weighting function W leads to various approximation methods. Only one particular method has to be followed to get to the Wi is not right. All right, it can be you can take any type of methodology. All right, how Galerkin have reached here we can see. All right, now in Galerkin method, whatever the equation number 3, the integral form we have is taken in this form. All right, that the Wi taken in this form, it is taken as psi. Psi is the weighting function is considered in Galerkin method. What kind of methodology is given to reach to this psi, we will see now. All right, you can write down what a psi is. Psi is chosen from basis functions used for constructing approximate solution for u bar. It means whatever the psi we create is exactly the same methodology or the same basis function we take into account for which u was formed, out of which we got u bar. U bar is the approximate solution. If you remember, u bar is the approximate solution for the u differential equation. L of u is equal to p. All right, so psi is chosen from basis functions used for constructing approximate solution function u bar. Okay, so let us take this equation as equation number 4. See, out of all the complete 1 and 2 units, Galerkin method is a little bit confusing. That is why I'm going very slow. One by one equation I'm telling you. All right, try to understand. When we solve the problem, you'll however get it exactly how what is this method. All right, and if you see in the previous cases also, very rarely Galerkin method was asked in the exam point of view. Very rarely, maybe you can get about 5 marks question or a 2 marks question. All right, so now we'll take, now here we have seen that xi is created with respect to whatever the construction we used for U bar. All right. So let us see how are we trying to construct or reach to the basis function of U bar. All right. So if we see in that way, let us take U bar is equal to sigma of Qi Gi. There are again two new terms here. It is Qi and Gi. What are they? Qi is the basis unknown vector. That is, all your displacement terms will come in U, because displacement is the basic unknown what we consider. All right. So Qi, that is the basis unknown vector. I hope that all these basis function, weighting function, all these terms you have already seen in your mathematics. So I'm not telling you the meaning of every term here. All right. And the G is basis function. Your Gi is the polynomial functions what we take, and your Qi is the basis unknown vector. All right. So let us take this equation as equation number 5. So we have 5 equations now. Give me a yes after you note down the equation, please. So long. Are we still in the call? Yeah. 1 yes after you finish. At least the moderator for today.
Yes, ma'am, completed.
Okay. Very good.
No, ma'am,
Thank
1 minute,
you.
please.
Okay. You're taking long to write equations. Faster, please.
Completed, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. We'll go for the next one now. Now, we choose the weighting function to be linear combination of basis function gi. All right. We saw that u bar and xi are formed or constructed depending upon the same basis functions. All right. So the unknowns in the weighting function and the governing equation or the u bar or the approximate solution what we get will be related to each other. All right. So polynomial functions what we have seen, we take that as the common part under both of the sections and then form the weighting function. All right. It can be formed like this. It was shown xi in the equation number 4. Yet that is taken as phi. All right. When we are constructing the exact weighting function, nothing difference here. Xi or phi or w1, all are weighting functions only. All right. Any terminology is fine. Now this is taken as phi is equal to phi I gi. Now there are two terms of same category here. If you see, we have phi and we have phi I. This is the weighting function. Now what are those two? Phi I are arbitrary coefficients for the basis function gi. All right. Phi I are arbitrary except for that one required phi, except for that one required phi that satisfies the homogeneous boundary conditions where u bar is prescribed. I've mentioned you u value for the specified boundary conditions, if when it all it is there, whatever the governing equation we form should be in such a way that it satisfies the boundary condition. All right. Now, whatever the weighting function we create or we construct should be in such a way that it is formed with with the same basis function of u bar, and very importantly that one particular phi what we are trying to find out should be satisfied the should satisfy the exact same uh, u bar, the exact solution where it is given. Suppose I'll tell you how it goes. It is given that u of 1 is equal to 2 value, that is displacement at x is equal to 1 is 2 in number. This is specified. So when you create the approximate solution u bar, we have to look into, you have to take into consideration that the whatever polynomial function or whatever the equation you have taken should satisfy that when you substitute x is equal to 1, you have to get the u value as 2. All right. Now, because x is equal to 1 at that particular point, u value is exactly 2 is given to you. It is not that you will get some approximate solution over there. So at that particular point, your phi value, which means your weighting function, there is no necessary of the weighting function only. So there your weighting function, whatever you have formed is 0. Got that point? So that has to be properly taken into account whenever you create the weighting function, you construct the weighting function or you construct the polynomial function. Both the basis functions should be in a condition that whatever the specified point, whatever the specified boundary condition is given to you has to be satisfied. All right. So let us take this as equation number 6. Now whole of the Galerkin method what we have seen until now consists of 6 equations. All right, out of which we are not going to use all the equations, by the way. So what I'll do here how the Galerkin method is formed. So Galerkin method in 2 steps, I'll tell you directly so that when we solve it will be easy. All right, you can tell it as summary of Galerkin method. Okay, summary of Galerkin method, you have to note these 2 points. Okay, number 1, choose the basis function gi. I'm just simplifying all the 6 equations what we had before. I'm just simplifying it into two different statements so that when we solve it, we can go in this order. Actually, what we have seen till here is we have went backwards. We need the basis function first. Whatever the polynomial equations what we form, that is first. Then that into differential form, then into integral form, then into solution. All right. So we have to choose a basis function gi first. And then second point, determine the coefficients qi in this equation, that is u bar, such that this would satisfy in our integral form. All right. In our integral form, we have the weighting function. All right. What is that weighting function? Is similar to the basis function of u bar. That is what is Galerkin method. In the 2 steps what is given down, in the slide, this two steps is the complete Galerkin methodology. All right. Moderator, please give me a yes once you are done writing. We are going to solve a problem. First we'll solve a problem which is not related to our subject. One differential, because this is the combination of differential equations and integral equations. What we'll do, we'll just take a small differential equation, solve it using Galerkin method. Then we'll go to our engineering, solid mechanics problems. Okay. It is already 10:04. We have to be a little bit fast because we have to see Galerkin method. This is generalized Galerkin method. We have to see the Galerkin method taken into the elasticity problems. The 2 steps, please write it down faster.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. All right. We'll solve a problem now. Calculators are not needed as of now. At the end of the problem, it is needed. First, before that, I have keep on telling you, brush yourselves with differential equations and calculus. That is very much needed. All right. So here, I don't know. I'll skip to the answer faster. So you can. I'll tell you in between. You can leave spaces. What problem we are going to see now is not important for your examination point of view. That is just to understand how Galerkin method is solved. All right. Let us take this. Solve the given differential equation du by dx plus 2u is equal to 1, for which x 0 less than x less than 1. We have to solve this equation for u. We need the answer for u. Okay. Using Galerkin's approach, and there is a specified value given. See, x is equal to u, x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1 is the boundary conditions. So x will be the value anywhere in between 0 to 1. All right. So x is equal to 0 is already given in the question, right? So what will be the other term? X is equal to 1, or in between we have to see, we can take one value of x is equal to 0.5 also. All right. So what is that? X is equal to 0.5 and x is equal to 1. The answer, what are the answers that we can see in the solution? Right? Are we done with the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. We'll solve now. We'll go for the solution. We'll have to assume the polynomial equation, approximation equation first. All right. So u is being constructed with respect to gi, that is, choose the approximation function gi is the first step. So let us take u to be an polynomial equation. All right, u is equal to a plus bx plus cx square, and we'll take that as equation number 1. All right, now we have taken this approximation approximation with the polynomial equation, but I told you whenever we consider the polynomial equation or the governing equation, we have to remember that this should satisfy the specified value that is given. What is the specified value? X is equal to 0, the u value will be 1. So substitute the value, substitute x is equal to 0 and u is equal to 1 in equation number 1. Considering the initial condition u of 0 is equal to 1 in the above equation, what do we get? You substitute?
Coefficient, ma'am.
Sorry?
1 is it coefficient? U is equal to A, no, ma'am.
Yeah.
Then you are saying U of 0 is equal to 1. 1 is coefficient of the constant, ma'am.
No. When you substitute x is equal to 1 in the considered polynomial equation, the value of u, the displacement value, is 1, not the coefficient. You can see I have written the equation here. It is not the coefficient. The value of u at a point x is equal to 0 in the specified region. Suppose we have a structure in the structure at x is equal to 0, the value of displacement is 1. That is what they have given. The value of u is 1, not the coefficient, please. Got it, Shravanti?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Now, substituting the value of x is equal to 0 and u is equal to 1, because at x is equal to 0, the value of u is 1. We are going to have an answer for a. A is equal to 1. So the equation number 1 can be rewritten as u is equal to 1 plus bx plus cx square. So there were 3 coefficients earlier, 3 arbitrary constants. Out of that, taking initial condition, we have already got one arbitrary constant. That is a value we have already got. So to reach to the solution of u, we need 2 other unknowns. That is b and c. Alright. If we know the value of b and c, to whichever point from 0 to 1, when we give the value of x is the variable here. When we give suppose x is equal to 0.3, I'll give. What is the solution of u? If at all I need that answer, I need what is b and what is c. So we have to solve for the value of b and c now. Alright, we'll take this as equation number 2. Now, taking Galerkin method into account, so whatever the differential equation we had in the question, there was a differential equation given. Du by dx plus 2u is equal to 1. That was the question that is given. So it means it is like L of u is equal to P, the governing equation what we have taken. For that, a weighting function is been taken into account. I'll change the color. Yes. For that, a weighting function is taken into account and the boundary region 0 to 1, because it is told that x is less than 0, 0 less than x less than 1. So the boundary is 0 to 1. And for the LUP, whatever we had, this is the Galerkin method consideration what we can take. Alright, now this one is solved. Now let us take this as equation number 3. Now I have said you that weighting function is taken into account, or it is constructed exactly how u was constructed, or the u bar in the methodology when it is given. So here w is constructed using the same basis function in approximating u. Alright. If that is taken into account, what was u when we have taken a plus bx plus cx square? So we are taking weighting function also in same format with different arbitrary constants. That is w is equal to capital A plus capital Bx plus capital Cx square. Let us take that as equation number 4. Now, what is this weighting function? Wherever residual, and that is the approximate solutions are present, and there is an error, then the residual is formed. That residual leads to the weighting function. But in the question, a specified point is given. At x is equal to 0, the value of u is 1. That is already given. It means that there is no residual, there is no error at x is equal to 0. So there is no point that there will be a w at x is equal to 0. So w of 0 is equal to 0 at x is equal to 0. So that we should remember. I said you previously, where there is no residual, there is no weighting function. There is one specified problem, one specified point in the given problem that at x is equal to 0, we already have the exact solution for u. So weighting function does not exist at that particular point. So if at all the value of weighting function is 0, when we substitute that in the taken equation, we will have the equation of weighting function W is equal to Bx plus Cx square. Just as in case of U, how you substituted? 0 is equal to A plus B into 0 plus C into 0 square. So A value will become 0 directly. So we will have the weighting function as W is equal to Bx plus Cx square. So now we have a U function with small b and small c as the unknowns, and a relative weighting function with capital B and capital C as the unknowns. All right. So we will let this where B and C are arbitrary. All right. Now we will see what is this B and C and how they are related to the small b and small c, that is in the weighting function. That relation will give you the answer for U. All right. Now using integration by parts, you know what is integration by parts, so I'm not going into it. The equation what we had in the previous one, that equation I'm solving it using integration by parts, and this would be the solution. You may please note it down. In the previous equation, where equation number 3, we had integration of W du by dx into dx taken from 0 to 1. All right. So that part we are doing integration by parts. All right. Now if you see, there are terms in this equation where x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1 are to be substituted in the equations what we have for U and equations what we have for W. All right. We know what is W of 0 is equal to 0. So this part we know how it goes. And where what is we have U, we have W, you know, all these values whatever we have, if we take that into rational form, we'll end to this part. Let us take this as equation number 6. As of now, please note down the equation. All right. When you sit and solve, you may come down to the different steps, because this problem is just to understand how Galerkin method is solved. So please do not concentrate on the various steps in between. All right. You can take time after class is done. You can take time to solve it. All right. Now in this equation number 6, if we check here, U of 1 is equal to 1 plus B plus C, which means U of 1 means x is equal to 1 is to be substituted in the U equation we have. All right, because see, if you see, U here integration is from 0 to 1. So when we do the integration and we substitute the limits, it will become U of 0 and U of 1. Same to the W also. Here W, U of 1, U of 0, U of 1, W of 0, W of 1. So these limits are taken into account. All right. All that point where you substitute. So we have these values already. What we have an equation for U, we have an equation for W. So that if you take it into account and substitute into the equation what we have, and you solve it, because see, I am not going to show the whole solution, because there are about 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 different terms that has to be substituted. It has to be integrated, and then it will give the solution. In here I'm not showing you the solution, I will give you the answer. Later you can try when you have time. you can try to reach to the solution. All right, substituting the values of u of 1 and the w equation what we have in the above equation, we will reach to a bigger equation where arbitrary constant will be taken as common. There you will have a function formed with variables b and c, arbitrary constant c into another function g, which will be in terms of b and c. Simplified form of solution what you can get after substituting the 7 different values what we have in equation number 6. All right, now here b and c, this small b and small b are concerns to reach to the solution. So whatever the arbitrary constants we have, what we'll do is we will try to a kind of a probability and statistics we can do here. All right, we have two different boundary conditions. One is x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 1. All right, so we can apply two different set of relations of b and c to find out the equation. All right, now which must be true for this equation what we have got. For that I have given the explanation. It must be true for arbitrary values of b and c. Now what are these arbitrary values? We can consider one set. All right, we can either consider b is equal to 1 and c is equal to 0, one at one boundary and other at the other boundary, or c is equal to 1 and b is equal to 0. We can consider any such case, taking into account that these two variable equations whatever we have are zeros. If you see, if I take b is equal to 1 into this function is 0 plus c is however 0 in first set, c is equal to 0 into 0 is equal to 0. So this is satisfied. So one such set which will satisfy the above above equation is this one. All right, so the solution whatever we got, taking this one set as the true values for the arbitrary constants, we get two different equations at the end. All right, one equation will be like this. Once you reach to the solution you can get. All right, now as of now noted down these equations. Another equation, because we have two sets going on here. All right, I mean two different equations, one set only, two different sort of equations. When you substitute, we will reach to, at the end we will reach to these two equations. Now what you have to do is, we have got two equations, solve those two equations for b and c. Two unknowns are there, two equations are there. All right, degree of their degree is only 1. It is not like there are no square terms also, right? Now solve these two equations for the values of b and c, small b and small c, and tell me the answer. Please raise your hand. The moderator will inform me. Then you can unmute yourself and give me the answer. One member give the answer for b. The other member give the answer for c. Did you note down the equations? Guys, did you note down the equations? Both
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
equations. Okay.
And the B value is?
Wait, did you raise your hand? The
Yes,
moderator didn't tell me. Okay. Okay, Uma Maheshwar. Tell the value of B, please.
0.9498.
9. Okay, 1 second. I stopped sharing. This is the B value I've got. Please check whether it is right for what you got. It's not matching with the answer what you have told. Uma Maheshwar,
Yeah, ma'am, checking.
please check. It is 1.667 into B plus 1.667 into C is equal to minus 0.1, 0.5. 0.833B plus 0.9C is equal to minus 0.3333. So the value of B, you will get it as minus 0.7857, and the value of C, you will get it as 0.3571. We already had the value of A is equal to 1 in the initial condition itself. Alright, let's not waste time. Alright.
Ma'am, it is correct only, ma'am. 0.94. Even I'm getting B as 0.94, ma'am.
0.94.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. To me also 0.9.
And P value as 9.
9
9 point?
0.94 ma'am. B.
Okay.
C
C
minus
negative.
1.24.
Minus 1.24. C.
Yes, ma'am,
Oh,
0.94.
okay, okay, not an issue. All right, whatever answers you get, right, please mention what is the value of B. One member.
0.94 ma'am.
0.94.
94.
What are the next two? We are taking 4 decimals into account.
0.9
0.9498.
Okay, what is C?
minus 1.2497.
Minus 1.2497.
97.
Okay. All right. I'll check with my solution later. Now, you have the values of B and C, and we already have the value of A. Sorry about that, Uma Maheshwar. You have given the right answer maybe. My solution might have gone wrong. Now, we have the coefficients A, B, and C. So, this was the initial equation what we had. All right. Substitute the values of B and C. You will get a value of you will have a complete equation of U. All right. We are asked to solve for U only. So U of 0 was already given in the question. All right. That is x is equal to 0 when you substitute. The value is 1. All right. So now x is equal to 0.5. You substitute with the values what you have got for B and C, and then substitute x is equal to 1. That is the extreme boundary with the values of B and C what you got. So you will have the answers of U of 0.5 once, U of 1. Now these two values what I have written is based on my B and C. Whatever answers I got for B and C, whatever answers you have got now, depending upon that, please write down the answers for U and U of 0.5 and U of 1. All right, whatever answers you get, you can note it down in your notes. I have just told you that this problem is to understand how Galerkin method is used in solving the problem. How do we take weighting functions? How do we take the approximation values? How specified values are to be taken into account? All right. Hope everybody understood how Galerkin method works. All right. Any doubts in this part? You can please raise your hand. Please do not strive for the answer as of now. Yes, Uma Maheshwar?
Yeah, ma'am. ఒకసారి previous slide explain చేయరా? మన
ఏ slide అమ్మా?
integration by part.
Integration by parts is your mathematics. You cannot expect me to answer the integration by parts.
ఈక్వేషన్ కాదు మేడం, ఈక్వేషన్ తర్వాత చెప్పిన పార్ట్ అక్కడ నాకు నెట్వర్క్ ఇష్యూ వచ్చింది, ఒకసారి ఎక్కువ
In the problem or in the Galerkin's method?
in the problem.
Were you there for this equation?
Yeah, ma'am.
In our taken integral form of the problem, what we have 0 to 1 with limits w du by dx into dx. Now for sorry,
Screen sharing is
yeah, sorry. Thank you. Are you able to see now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. See, integration in the integral form, what we have from the differential equation, what is given in the question, we have one term with respect to weighting function also and u term also. For this, we are using integration by parts. All right. For that one term, when we take integration by parts, this is the formula. Minus of u dw by dx into dx plus w of 1, the upper limit, into u of 1 plus w of 0 and u of 0, that is the lower limit, 0 to 1. Now, if from the question we have the values of what is w of 1, u of 1, w of 0, u of 0, what is u equation and what is w equation, all these things we already have known in the previous slide. If we see, we have the values of all those. Taking that into variational form, we get this equation. Taking all those equations into account and making it into a variational form, we will reach to this section. Now for this section, we solve for the problem. All right, you may note it down, the variational form of equation. How this variational form is, how did we get this? You have to get back to your mathematics, please. All right. Uma Maheshwar?
Thank you.
All right. Now in the when we are solving for potential energy approach, Galerkin's method, we have solved one-dimensional rod problem. All right. Now from the Galerkin approach, we will solve the same problem and see whether the solution what we got in the potential energy approach and what we get in Galerkin's approach, how much difference is there. All right. Please note down the problem if you remember very well and good. I have said in the previous class only. We'll try to solve this as fast as possible because we have to see Galerkin's method in elasticity. Then only we can end this. That will be the end of unit 2. Take down the problem. If already you have the potential energy problem, directly write down the question number what you have written there and then write down the solution using Galerkin's approach. That would be more easier. Faster, please. Take down the figure and just mention that analyze the given figure using Galerkin's approach. That's all. You cannot give much time like this. I'm going forward. You may please note down the question number what you have written for the potential energy approach when we solved. All right, we'll start with the solution. Now our first part is to consider the governing differential equation. All right, if you remember the exact question what is given in the previous case, this can be taken as our governing differential equation. All right, there when you see the potential energy equation was directly given to you. All right, under that, if you take that into account and solve, here this is a second degree differential equation. All right, now we are taking this as our basis function, governing equation. All right, now for this, in which now the boundary conditions are also mentioned. If you see the figure clearly, at x is equal to 0, because it is fixed, there is not going to be any displacement happening, so u is equal to 0, and at x is equal to 2 also it is fixed. If you check the figure clearly, the displacement will be 0, so the boundary conditions are specified. So u is equal to 0 at x is equal to 0, u is equal to 0 at x is equal to 2. So we have to check whether whatever the governing equation what we have taken, is it satisfying this boundary conditions is also we have to look. All right, now we have the governing equation. What is the next step is, for the governing equation whatever we have, we are multiplying a weighting function. All right, I am taking that as phi. All right, weighting function phi to the whatever differential equation, governing differential we have with us, I'm multiplying that and I'm integrating in parts. Now integrating in parts we take into account when we have two different functions with variables. All right, here we have u as a function of x, that is all, that is what is the unknown, and phi also will be a function of x. Both are formed out of same basis functions. All right, because we have two terms, we are integrating by parts. All right, now we multiply the above governing equation with phi and then perform integration by parts, and this is the next equation what you get when you do integration by parts. Limits are 0 to 2. Give me a yes once you're done.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, thank you. Now when we apply the limits and solve this equation, whatever we have, we will reach to this one. If you check, we have two different terms here. Let me take the pen. We have two terms where the limits are there, 0 to 1 and 1 to 2. All right, this is the reason, because if you see in the question, at 1 the displacement is given, that is u1 in the previous case. It means that there is a possibility of displacement happening at x is equal to 1. At x is equal to 0, no displacement. At x is equal to 2, no displacement. But at x is equal to 1, there is a displacement, so we are taking that as a break. So 0 to 1 we have the equation, 1 to 2 we have another equation. All right, where phi is 0 at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 2. I already said where it is specified there is no possibility of residue, the value of weighting function will be 0. All right, so taking that into account and solving this equation, we will end up with the equation like this. Are we done? Are we done?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, in here, we know that there are two terms here. There are u terms and there are 5 terms. All right. Now this phi 1 where it is mentioned here, it means that the value of phi at x is equal to 1. All right. So that is phi 1 you can give. Now we know that u and phi are formed of same basis functions. All right. Now the specific boundary conditions are same. So you don't have to go for 2 different arbitrary constants. We will go for the same basis function to form both the equations, keeping in mind that at x is equal to 0 and x is equal to 2, the equations of u will become 0. All right, and equations of phi will also become 0. Taking that into account, let u1 and phi 1 be the values at x is equal to 1, because I said you at 1 there is a possibility of displacement happening. All right, maybe tension or compression. All right, but there is a displacement happening, not at the ends but at x is equal to 1. So let u1 and phi 1 be the values of the differential equation at x is equal to 1, such that I am forming this as the equation for u, and phi is equal to 2x minus x square and into phi 1. If you clearly check, if I substitute x is equal to 0, what is the equation I'm going to get is u is equal to 0. In the phi also, if I substitute, it is going to be 0. The next boundary condition, x is equal to 2. If I substitute x is equal to 2 in the equations what I have taken, in that also it is going to be u is equal to 0 and phi is equal to 0. So in this way, I have considered the two different two basis functions of u and phi in such a way that the boundary conditions are satisfied. That we have to look into account. All right, boundary conditions must be satisfied. All right. Now, substituting the values of E and A. In the question, if you check, E is equal to 1 and A is equal to 1 is given. And now we have taken an equation for U and equation for phi. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All these 4 values, if you substitute in the equation what we have, all right, and solve it, this is where we are going to reach. What I insist, we have very less time. It is already 10:40. You may please note down the equation and leave a space of about 3 to 4 lines, so that when you solve it, you can understand whether you can reach there or not. Substituting E is equal to 1, A is equal to 1, U is equal to 2x minus x square into u1, phi is equal to 2x minus x square into phi 1. In the above equation, we get like this. When you further solve this, this is the point where we'll reach. I insist, please note down the equation what is shown in this slide. You may please leave about 2 to 3 lines in between, so that later when you solve, you can reach to the answer. Or at the end, after finishing the elasticity derivation, we will take time to solve it step by step. Did you get to the last equation that is given in front of you? Phi 1 into minus 8 by 3 u1 plus 2 is equal to 0. Solving that, can you give me the value of u1, anyone? Solve the final equation what you have and give me the answer for u1. Anyone, you can unmute yourself and give me the answer. I hope we are still connected. I'm not getting any answer.
3/4.
Reduce it to decimal, please.
0.75.
Exactly. 0.75. In the potential energy approach, when we solved the same problem, please check what was the answer for U1. That is why you are asked to attend all the classes. People who are absent for Taylor-Ritz method and the problem of this one, I hope you are able to catch up. Is it the same answer from the potential energy approach? Guys? Are you people
Yes,
there?
ma'am. 0.75.
0.75 was the value of U1. All right. So if we see, either we take Galerkin's approach or the Rayleigh-Ritz approach for a certain problem. Both are approximation methods only. Both have given us similar type of answers. All right. So until and unless it is mentioned to you how to reach to the solution, you can use any method. All right. Now, this was for the one-dimensional rod problem, and in the previous one we have just seen how taking into account a differential equation, how can we reach to the solution. All right. Now, the same Galerkin method, if we are taking further into the solid mechanics and applying it for the elasticity problems, how can we reach to the solution is the main part. All right. So if you are going forward, we will take it as Galerkin's method in elasticity. You can further write it as an elasticity problems if you want. Galerkin's method in elasticity problems. Shall I start? Guys, I need answers. If response is not there, that will be very difficult for me to move forward. I got one yes, I don't know who. We have 75 participants and none of them are answering like this. Okay. All right, let's not waste time. We'll finish this off and then we'll see who is present in the class and who is not. All right. Now, Galerkin's method, we have ended at equation number 6. Before going to the problems, we have seen complete 6 equations in Galerkin's method. All right. We'll consider that last 6th equation. All right. And we will consider our stress equilibrium equations of elasticity in this equation. All right. Stress equilibrium equations of elasticity in equation number 6. If you clearly check, what was equation number 6? That is the weighting function, or you can mention that as in our equation number 4, that was the integral form. All right, where weighting function is multiplied with the differential form. All right, or gi phi I. Here if you see, this is your form of gi, polynomials of x comma y comma z, I already said, and this is your phi I. All right, summation of all these into dv, that is your integral form, Galerkin method. All right, so gi means here it is gx phi x, gy phi y plus gz and phi z. That is the equation, taking stress equilibrium equations of elasticity into account. If you don't remember the equations, very bad. Get back to the second unit derivations, what we have done. Stress equilibrium equations, relative constitutive matrix, boundary conditions, all these are taken into account now, taking Galerkin's method into elasticity problems. Did you note it down? Did you note it down? Good. Now let us take this equation as equation number 7, please. Right, here we have phi x, phi y and phi z terms. Now what are that is? Matrix phi is an arbitrary displacement consistent with boundary conditions of U. I said weighting functions when we are taking, it is consistent to the boundary conditions used for the displacements U. All right. Now, taking this stress equilibrium equations into account, we have equation number 7. All right. Let us consider now if there is a unit normal acting at a point x on the surface. We have seen stress equilibrium. Let us go into the surface part now, surface traction. If n is equal to nx, ny, nz transpose, that is the matrix, is a unit normal at a point x on the surface, the interaction, this is integration. Let me correct that. Sorry. Right. Right. Now, taking unit normal at a point x on the surface and doing integration by parts formula. Now, first see what integration by parts formula we can consider. See this way. We have two different functions alpha and theta. For that, this is the way we can take it into account. All right, where we are taking a volume, that is for the entire structure, and for this surface. I've clearly said in the case of boundary conditions over there in the previous classes, whenever where we are talking about unit normals into account, that means we are taking surface into account. All right, we are talking about the whole structure, we are taking volume into account. All right, so in this way, if we consider where alpha and theta are functions of x comma y comma z, one is with respect to volume and the other one is respective this surface. When surface is coming into picture, unit normal is coming into picture. All right, so when we are forming and taking Galerkin method to the complete elastic problem, what we are seeing from the starting, we are taking that into account and solve it. Let us take this one as equation 8. Let us take this as equation number 8. Now this equation number 8, what we have is how the integration by parts formula is taken into account. All right, it is not that we have taken some equation from the elasticity. All right, this equation has a name. Okay, for multi-dimensional problems, equation number 8 is referred as Green-Gauss theorem or divergence theorem. All right, so to solve for the formation of integral form in the Galerkin method for the elastic problems. Elastic problems indicates here it will be multidimensional. You can take it as a 2D problem, 3D problem, anything. We are taking this equation, which they are calling it as Green-Gauss theorem or divergence theorem, into account and then solve it. All right, because we are going to have many unknowns here, right? Now, for multidimensional problems, equation number 8 is referred as Green-Gauss theorem or divergence theorem. For that, we are using equation number 8 formula, and we are integrating equation number 7 by parts and rearranging the terms. We clearly check. We have equation number 8, which is Green-Gauss theorem, and we have equation number 7, our stress equilibrium equations. In stress equilibrium equations, see, we have stress values, we have body force values, we have an arbitrary displacement functions. So there are many functions there in that, and here when we are taking it is only about the volume, body force. All right, when we are taking the unit normal also into account, we are taking this equation using Green-Gauss theorem on that equation, and then rearranging terms according in such a way that all the body forces, all the traction forces, all the point loads come are taken into different parts. All right, if you see from unit 1, we have all these equations available for us. We are just taking that equations and substituting them into the Galerkin's method for elasticity. Simple. All right, now see, we are using Green-Gauss theorem and integrating equation number 7 and rearranging the terms, and then we get this equation. If you check, stress and strain terms in 1 with respect to volume, the weighting function into body forces in one section, and for the surface we have 3 different equations for surface. What are these 3 equations? If you remember, with the unit normal, there was a term given in the problem. If you have your notes along with you, that would make your problem little easier. You note it down as of now. You can get back to your methodology, stress equilibrium equations and boundary conditions equations, where you'll find all these equations over there. Give me a yes, please, once you're done with the equation. We are left with very less time. We should be able to complete this today.
మేము at the last nz sigma z కదా అక్కడ x ఉంది.
అవునమ్మా.
Presentation stopped.
ప్రెజెంటేషన్ స్టాప్ అయిందా? ఆగుట కరెక్షన్ చేస్తున్నాను, ఒక్క నిమిషము. Are you able to see now? Funny? Funny?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello, who's that? What is your problem? Please mention clearly. Tejasvi, please look into that. Who is that? Alright, did you note down equation number 9?
All are muted, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Did you check equation number 9? Did you note it down?
Yes, ma'am, completed.
Right. If we check in this, we have two terms with respect to volume. Volume, it will be with respect, under volume we get stress and strain terms, body force terms, and the other part is the surface terms where we get unit normal terms. All right. Now what are all these? We will look. We'll see now. In this, we have an equation epsilon phi. Epsilon phi is the arbitrary displacement matrix what we have taken. So our phi x, epsilon phi will be the same format how we have formed for epsilon in the strain displacement equations. Dou phi x by x, dou phi y by y, dou phi z by z. It means if you remember dou u by dou x, dou v by dou y, dou w by dou z. These were the terms when we were doing the strain displacement of a 3D structure, 3D elemental volume. That is just taken as phi values. That is the weighting functions in this problem. All right, this is one term. And the other terms what we have, you can write what is this. Strain corresponding to the arbitrary displacement field phi. You can take a note of that. Strain corresponding to the arbitrary displacement field phi. Now the other terms what we have is the boundary conditions term, that is the unit normal terms. Now what are they? These are the values. Sigma x and x plus tau xy ny plus tau nz yz is the traction force in the x direction. Similarly, we have in y direction and in z direction. Now this is with respect to the surface traction we can take. What if there are point loads also? Then this is taken into account. The same value whatever you have, when it is taken with respect to the surface dx, can be taken equivalent to the point load at that point x. All right, because point loads are also may also act when point loads are taken into account. This can be considered. So these are this one we are calling it as natural boundary conditions of the problem. Surface traction is possible, point loads are possible. One is external, both are external basically. Surface traction is also external, point loads are also external. This can be taken as natural boundary conditions of the problem. Are we done? Shall I go to the next slide?
No, ma'am.
Faster please. You can find all these equations in your boundary conditions class. That was the second class. All right, we don't have much time, so I'm going forward. Now equation number 9, whatever we have got for taking into account the stress values, strain values, body force values, surface traction values, all those things we rewrite in the variational form of Galerkin's. That can be written in this way. Stress and strain with the arbitrary displacement component phi, that is taken with respect to volume. Here F indicates body forces, okay? Body forces. With respect to volume. Surface traction with respect to the surface traction values. and if the point loads are present in with respect to various points in the structure, from I is equal to 1 to n, 0 to n. So all these things is taken into account for the complete analysis of the whole structure what we have. All right. Some are internal, some are external. All right. If you see, these both are taken as internal, whereas if the same constraint has to be taken as into potential energy approach, half part is strain energy, half part is work potential, internal and external. All right. Now let us take this as equation number 10. Now if we clearly see the whole equation of equation number 10, it resembles the combination of internal and external work that is done, strain energy and the work potential if we have seen in the potential energy approach. A similar constraint we can see over here also. All right. For problems of linear elasticity, equation number 10 is precisely the principle of virtual work. The principle of virtual work, and phi is the kinematically admissible virtual displacement. Now, quick review. What is kinematically admissible? Somebody. Let me ask. People know, people are present so much in the class, very attentive. Jayant? Jayant? I'm going to mark you absent, okay? If ఏమైంది?
వాటర్ అవుతున్నా మ్యామ్, నేను వినలేదు. వాటర్ ఆడడానికి వచ్చిన మ్యామ్ ఇతర రూమ్ లకి. సారీ మ్యామ్.
Tell me, what is kinematically admissible displacement field? What are displacement elements? You're still drinking water?
No ma'am.
Then what is kinematically admissible displacement fields or displacement elements? You were present on that day's class.
Present ma'am. Yes,
Then,
I wrote that question ma'am.
Then open your notes and tell. Any one member, by the time Jan could see back his notes, what is principle of virtual work? We have seen in the previous subjects, this concept is not new. Anyone? What is the principle of virtual work? What was that? Anyone? What is principle of virtual work? Ever heard of it? Please tell me if it is a yes or a no so that we can continue the class. If you sit silent like that, it means that you left the screens. I have to think like that. If at all it is in the class, I would have at least be able to see your expressions. If you know or you don't know. Anyone? What is principle of virtual work? If it is a no, also please tell.
No.
Oh, good. That is the principle of virtual work. Please note it down. A body is in equilibrium if the internal virtual work equals the external virtual work for every kinematically admissible displacement field. Principle of virtual work you have already seen in many of your previous subjects. Everywhere this concept works. It has to. And you're telling you have never heard of this. So if we clearly see, this is the internal part of virtual work, which has to be equal to the external part of virtual work. So this is representing your linear elasticity problems. This equation is representing the complete exact effect of exact relation of principle of virtual work. Now in this, if you see displacement strain with respect to phi, body force with respect to phi, traction force with respect to phi, point loads with respect to phi. So everywhere we have that arbitrary displacement phi function taken into account. All right. For that kinematically admissible arbitrary displacement field phi what we have taken, for that the internal virtual work should be equal to the external virtual work. That means your Galerkin variational form is with respect to principle of virtual work. If anyone remembers, we have seen a Rayleigh-Ritz method that works on the principle of minimum potential energy. This might be your bits questions, if at all, in your mid 1 or mid 2. Sorry, mid 1 or mid 2. We are going for multiple choices. Please remember. All right. Rayleigh-Ritz method works on principle of minimum potential energy, whereas Galerkin's, when we are taking for the 3D stress analysis, all right, elasticity problems with respect to Galerkin's variational form, it works on the principle of virtual work. All right. This is the end of unit 1, and unit 2 was already over. So today after the class, I shall give you the assignment for unit 1 and unit 2. Okay. Assignment will be posted in the channel over here, and you should be submitting the assignment. Either you want to do it in the document form, or either you want to write it and scan it, but I need in PDFs. All right. I'll give you 1 week time to submit it. Submit the assignment again back in the Teams only. All right. So either you want to type the answers and write, that is also okay. Equations and all, whatever you have seen in the presentations, all those equations I have written in the presentation itself. So you can find all the symbols, everything. All right. Or very well and good, if you want to write it in the paper, you write it in the paper, scan it, make it a PDF and submit. All right. 1 week time would be given. And this is the end of unit 2. On Tuesday, we will start unit 3. All right. Whatever doubts you have, you make sure you be ready before we start unit 3. We will try to clear off the doubts of unit 1 and unit 2. All right. I have taken the attendance. I'm stopping the recording now.